Hello and welcome to Current News. My name is Neel, and in this special segment I will discuss news of the week gone by, which is important from the perspective of your exam. The Supreme Court terms suspension of Maharashtra MLAs unconstitutional, questions the decision to extend suspension even after the current session. The Assembly had suspended the MLAs in 2021 after disturbance over OBC reservation. Tension between Assam and Arunachal Pradesh over border demarcation. Likabali-Durbai road construction in Arunachal Pradesh is the immediate reason. Tussle going on over Assam's claim on road's major portion. America's tough stand on Nord Stream 2 pipeline amidst tension between Ukraine and Russia threatens to shut down pipeline if Russia attacks Ukraine. The pipeline is crucial for Europe's energy security. SBI report on reverse repo normalization released. The report mentions that a stage is set for reverse repo normalization. Reverse repo is the rate at which RBI borrows money from commercial banks. And central government organizes a webinar on cage aquaculture. Cage aquaculture is an aquaculture production system. In cage aquaculture, fish farming is done with floating frames and net cages in water bodies. Let's begin with news of the week. The Supreme Court in its recent decision has held the one-year suspension of 12 BJP MLAs by the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly as unconstitutional. Court termed their suspension as irrational and arbitrary. The court has ruled that the MLAs cannot be kept under suspension after the conclusion of the current session. The logic behind the decision is that if MLAs remain suspended for a long time, then their constituencies will not have any representation in the assembly. Long-term suspension of MLAs will not only mark a crisis in democratic system, but shall also affect the rights of the people. Actually, the apex court's decision has been given in the petition filed by Supreme Court by the suspended MLAs. These 12 BJP MLAs were suspended for 1 year for creating a ruckus in Maharashtra's Legislative Assembly in July 2021 in support of OBC reservation. Besides, these MLAs were also accused of misbehaving with the presiding officer of the assembly. On account of these reasons, the MLAs were suspended for 1 year from Maharashtra's Legislative Assembly by passing a resolution on 5th July 2021. Later on, these MLAs filed a petition in the Supreme Court challenging the Assembly's resolution. Justice A.M. Khanvikar and Justice C.T. Ravikumar have now quashed the resolution as unconstitutional and beyond the Assembly's powers. The court also held that such a suspension would adversely affect the opposition's role in discussions of the Assembly. In addition, there will be no meaningful debate in the Assembly as the members will fear being suspended for longer duration. The bench also stated that the Speaker of the Assembly should take decisions in an objective and reasonable manner in the matters related to suspension of the MLAs. It is noteworthy that Article 194 of the Constitution of India deals with the powers and privileges of Legislative Assembly. Any member who violates these privileges can be suspended through the powers conferred by the Assembly. Apart from this, Rule 53 of the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly also provides for suspension of members who misbehaves in the assembly. Tensions between Assam and Arunachal Pradesh border over the disputed land has been reported recently. Tensions have arisen due to Likabali-Durbai road being constructed in Arunachal Pradesh Lower Siang district. Assam claims that some portion of the road falls within its Dhemaji district. An imaginary boundary was drawn by the British in 1873 under the inner line system for separating the region's hilly areas from the plains. It was later named as North-East Frontier Tracts. After independence, the government of Assam assumed administrative jurisdiction over the North-East Frontier Tracts. This region was made the North-East Frontier Agency or NIFA in 1954. Later, NIFA separated from Assam and became a union territory in 1972, and its name was changed to Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh finally got statehood in 1987. It should be noted that few areas of NIFA were transferred to the districts of Assam after independence, as it was already under Assam's administrative jurisdiction. Under the Bordoloi Committee of 1951, about 3648 square kilometers plains of Nefas, Balipara and Sadia were transferred to the then Darrang and Lakhimpur districts of Assam. At present, the main reason behind the border dispute between the two states is the demarcation done in 1951. Arunachal Pradesh is of the view that demarcation in 1951 was done without consulting the residents of Arunachal Pradesh. Therefore, they do not accept the demarcation. On the other hand, Assam is of the view that demarcation is constitutional and legal as per the notification of 1951. After the separation of Arunachal Pradesh from Assam in 1972, several efforts were made to resolve the border dispute, but all efforts went in vain. Due to dispute, tensions have prevailed in Assam and Arunachal Pradesh several times since 1992. In view of escalating tensions, the Assam Chief Minister met the Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister recently for finding a permanent solution to the decades-old border dispute. The Nord Stream 2 pipeline is in discussions again after the ongoing tensions between the Western countries and Russia over Ukraine. Actually, the US has recently warned that if Russia attacks Ukraine, then it will halt the Nord Stream 2 pipeline project. In addition, the Nord Stream 2 pipeline is being used by Western countries as a bargain to ease Russia-Ukraine tensions, and as a result, the $11 billion pipeline plan's fate is in peril. In fact, the project is not only crucial for Europe's energy security, but it also serves Russia's interests. Europe requires more than 100 billion cubic meters of natural gas annually, and out of this, about 40% natural gas is supplied by Russia. Europe has become more dependent on gas imports in the past few years as its domestic gas production has reduced drastically. On the other hand, about 40% of Russia's total budget receipts come from gas and oil sales. In this context, Nord Stream 2 becomes very crucial for Russia's economy. Besides, Russia provides gas directly to its most valuable European customer, Germany, without paying transit fees to any country under this project. However, various countries have also expressed their concerns over the ambitious pipeline project. German environmentalists are of the view that pipeline project is not in line with German efforts of cutting dependence on fossil fuels and fighting climate change. America is of the view that pipeline project will make Europe more dependent on Russia, and as its outcome, Russia's influence on Europe will also increase. Ukraine has objected to the pipeline project as it would lose around $2 billion in transit fees once the pipeline becomes operational. In addition, Poland and Belarus are also opposing the pipeline project as it would bypass existing pipelines passing through their regions, and as a consequence, they would be deprived of transit fees. The Nord Stream 2 is an undersea export gas pipeline which will transport gas from Russia to Europe via Baltic Sea. There are two pipelines in Nord Stream. Nord Stream 1 was completed in 2011, while Nord Stream 2 pipeline was completed in September 2021. Nord Stream 2 passes through Ust-Luga in Russia and reaches Lubmin in Germany. The pipeline has capacity of transporting 55 million cubic meters of gas annually. State Bank of India recently released a report in which economic conditions related to reverse repo normalization were mentioned. First of all, we should know about reverse repo normalization and how is it going to affect the economy. It should be noted that reverse repo rate is the interest rate at which RBI borrows from other banks, or rather, banks deposit surplus liquidity with RBI. The increase in the reverse repo rate by RBI has been referred to as reverse repo normalization in this report. Under reverse repo normalization, it becomes more attractive for banks to deposit surplus liquidity with RBI. RBI takes this step to reduce the surplus liquidity from market. Actually, the word normalization in this context means bringing the rates back to normalcy. The economy had gone into recession during the pandemic, and in order to fight the economic recession, the RBI took some corrective measures and reduced the repo rate. Repo rate is the rate at which banks borrow from RBI. It was done to increase the money supply and demand in the economy so that economy can come out of recession and come on track again. Due to this, reverse repo rate was also reduced by RBI. RBI's objective behind decreasing reverse repo rate is that banks will not deposit surplus liquidity with RBI, as it will not remain attractive anymore, and then the banks can utilize this money to provide loans in the economy. But the interest rates that were reduced to emergency levels cannot be sustained for long. Now that the economy is returning back to normalcy, it becomes necessary to normalize the rates too. The main reason behind normalizing rates is the rising inflation rate. Due to lower interest rates and increasing money supply, the inflation situation is getting serious not only in India but all over the world. For controlling inflation, it becomes necessary to reduce the money supply from the market. According to experts, 3 steps will be taken in the normalization process. Firstly, the surplus liquidity with the banks will be reduced gradually. Secondly, the reverse repo rate will be increased so that the banks can deposit more and more money with the RBI. Thirdly, the repo rate will be increased so that the interest rate in the market becomes higher and the demand for money among consumers may decrease. Recently, State Bank of India Chairman Dinesh Kharra said that the bad bank proposed in Budget 2021 has got all necessary approvals and is ready to start its operations. Let us tell you that a total of 38 accounts worth 82,845 crores have been identified for the transfer in bad bank. Out of these, 15 accounts worth Rs 50,335 crores will be transferred to the bad bank in the first phase by March 31. Transfer of the remaining accounts is likely to be done in the next financial year. Initially, there were plans to transfer NPAs of around 2 lakh crores to bad bank. However, some of these accounts have already been settled. Technically, a bad bank is an asset restructuring company or asset management company that assumes control of NPAs or non-performing assets of commercial banks along with recovering money and also manages them over time. It also helps in reducing rising NPAs and improving the balance sheets of commercial banks. Let us inform you that in the budget speech of 2021, the Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman had proposed a new structure for bad banks to settle the issue of NPAs. 2 new entities have been set up under this new structure. Both these entities are National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited, that is NARCL, and India Debt Resolution Company Limited, that is IDRCL. The Ministry of Heavy Industries has notified the scheme on enhancement of competitiveness in the Indian capital goods sector Phase 2 recently. The scheme has been introduced to provide assistance for technological development in capital goods industry. Besides, the scheme also aims at expanding the impact created by the pilot scheme of Phase 1. The scheme aims at creating a robust capital goods industry which will contribute at least 25% to the manufacturing sector. The scheme also aims at meeting the domestic demands for capital goods and making India a net exporter of the sector. There are 6 components of the plan. 1. Identifying technologies related to capital goods through Technology Innovation Portal. 2. Establishing 4 new centers of excellence and augmenting the existing centers of excellence. 3. Promoting skills in the capital goods sector. 4. Establishing 4 common engineering facility centers. 5. Establishing 10 industry accelerators for technological development. 6. Augmentation of existing testing and certification centers. It should be noted that capital goods are those goods which are used for production of other goods. Thus, capital goods industries are those industries which produce machines, tools, etc. Consumer goods are produced using these capital goods. The capital goods sector in India contributes 12% to the manufacturing sector and it gives employment to around 50 lakhs people. In India, National Capital Goods Policy 2016 was also introduced for the development of capital goods sector. The policy aims at increasing domestic capital goods production from $31 billion in 2014-15 to $101 billion by 2025. The Employees Provident Fund Organization or EPFO has decided to appoint an independent auditor to monitor its investment transactions in the stock market. This decision has been taken keeping in mind the current volatility seen in the stock markets. This independent auditor can check day-to-day transactions carried out by professional fund managers or portfolio managers. On the other hand, this employee will help in ascertaining the investment pattern and norms prescribed for Provident Fund savings. This independent auditor will keep an eye on procedural shortcomings and challenges faced in investments made by the fund managers. Apart from this, it will also conduct a detailed analysis of decrease observed in EPFO holdings every quarter. It will also review the credit ratings of securities on a daily basis. EPFO has been using multiple fund managers for its investment management since 2008. In the financial year 2021, around Rs 1.82 lakh crore were invested by these fund managers. Let us tell you that EPFO is a government organization of the Ministry of Labour and Employment, Government of India, which manages the Provident Fund and pension accounts of the member employees. This organization implements the Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952 and comes under this Act and acts as a Provident Fund Institute for the employees working in factories and other establishments falling under this Act. The Economic Survey 2021-22 published recently has revealed that more patent applications have been filed by Indians as compared to multinational companies. In addition, the share of Indians in the patents filed in India in the financial year 2020-21 has increased to around 40% and it was around 30% in the financial year 2016-17. Besides, the number of patents filed in India increased to 58,502 in the financial year 2020-21, up from 45,444 in the financial year 2016-2017. It should be noted that India has moved up to 46th rank in Global Innovation Index, and patent applications are also witnessing an increase as India is promoting innovation. Despite this, India still lags far behind China, USA, Japan, and South Korea. It is mainly due to India's less expenditure on research and development activities. Besides, the procedural delays and complexities of filing patents in India are some other factors responsible for the same. A patent is an exclusive right granted to an individual or entity for an invention or innovation. It is granted for a new invention or invention process. The eligibility criteria for patenting an innovation are being new and unique, innovative, and industrial application capable. Besides, the invention's technological information must be disclosed to the public in the patent application for obtaining a patent. The Patent Act 1970 was introduced in India for safeguarding an individual's innovation or invention. This act replaced the Indian Patents and Design Act 1911. The Patent Act 1970 was amended by Patent Amendment Act 2005. The amendment expanded the patent regime to all areas of technology, including food items, drugs, chemicals, and microorganisms. The Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying organized a webinar on cage aquaculture in reservoir sleeping giants recently. Cage aquaculture is an aquaculture system in which fish farming is done by setting up a net cage in water resources like lakes, reservoirs, ponds, rivers, etc. This system provides the facility of free-flowing water. Normally, ponds or lakes have stagnant water. Hence, the system proves to be much better than traditional system of fish farming. The stagnant water lacks cleanliness and oxygen, but cage aquaculture overcomes this issue. While the environmental impact of cage aquaculture is less, it gives high returns and emits minimum carbon. At the same time, the system, which requires less investment and less area, can become a good source of alternative income for small fishermen. However, there are also some challenges in cage aquaculture. The biggest challenge is ensuring that a feed given to the cage fishes is rich in nutrients and is fresh. Besides, low dissolved oxygen syndrome or low dose poses other challenge to cage aquaculture, which requires mechanical aeration from time to time to overcome it. Recently, the National Green Tribunal directed the formation of Fly Ash Management and Utilization Mission in one of its orders. The principal objective of this mission is to monitor and coordinate issues relating with fly ash management and its disposal. The mission will conduct meetings to assist fly ash management in coal power plants and for preparing action plans for utilization of ash by individual power plants. These meetings will be conducted every month for a year. Along with this, the mission resolutions and quarterly progress report will be released on the website of Ministry of Environment and Forests. The mission will be jointly headed by secretaries of the Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, the Union Ministry of Coal and Power, and the chief secretaries of the states of UP and Madhya Pradesh. Secretary of the Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change will function as the nodal agency of the mission. In addition to it, this mission will also be able to monitor fly ash management and utilization of power projects located outside Singrauli and Sonbhadra. For a matter of fact, the order for the formation of this mission has come after about 8 cases registered in the NGT. In these particular cases, remedial action and relief were sought from the main bench against the violations done by coal power thermal plants. It is worthy to note that NGT monitors the unscientific handling and storage of fly ash by power plants. This mission is expected to streamline the fly ash management process. Let us also tell you that the fly ash is a pollutant generated from coal-fired power plants. It is carried by exhaust gases from combustion chamber and is separated from exhaust gases by bag filters. Earlier as well, fly ash notification for fly ash management and monitoring were issued in December 2021. Let us now look at 5 questions based on the bulletin.
Questions for this series are: first question is, consider the following statements. 1. There is no rule regarding the suspension of MLCs in case of misconduct, and this process is carried out as per the parliamentary traditions. 2. In the absence of rules in the Legislative Assembly, Lok Sabha rules are followed regarding the suspension of members. Which of the above statement or statements is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2. Next question is, prominently in the news, with which area is the Nord Stream pipeline associated? Eastern and Northern Europe, Middle East, Sahel region, or Balkan Peninsula? Next question is, consider the following statements. 1. The Brahmaputra river forms the boundary between Assam and Arunachal Pradesh for about 100 kilometers. 2. Assam shares the longest border with Arunachal Pradesh. Which of the above statement or statements is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2. Next question is, what does cage aquaculture mean? Pearl farming in lagoon lakes, seagrass farming in offshore region, conservation of corals in deep sea region, or fish farming with net cage help in water bodies? Last question is, what are the objectives of fly ash management and utilization mission? 1. Assessment of fly ash management in coal power plants. 2. Monitoring of fly ash management and disposal related issues. 3. Penal provisions for violating the limit of fly ash emission. Codes are 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, or all of the above.
So that's all for this bulletin. Do not forget to like, share and subscribe Drishti IAS Hindi, English and PCS YouTube channels. At the end, let us have a look at few more events of the last week in other news.
More than 70 species of butterflies have been found in Vellore Lake in Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. Hence, this place is being given the status of a butterfly hotspot. It is also home to blue mormon, which is India's 4th largest butterfly and Maharashtra's state butterfly. The Parliament of Japan has passed a resolution recently expressing concerns over human rights related issues in China. The resolution has raised some serious concerns over the human rights violations in China's Xinjiang region, Tibet, Hong Kong and Inner Mongolia. The resolution has been passed at a time when China is set to host the Beijing Winter Olympics. India has provided a $500 million loan to Sri Lanka for purchasing diesel, petrol and fuel gas. With this amount, Sri Lanka will be in a position to import petroleum products for its domestic needs. Due to breakdown in Sri Lanka's coal power plants, power cuts have increased in the country and Sri Lankans are struggling for getting cooking gas and kerosene oil. The UGC has released the draft National Higher Educational Qualification Framework recently. This draft is one of the major reforms mentioned in the National Education Policy 2020. Higher educational institutions across the country will be brought under this framework for assessing students on learning outcomes. In this framework, the parameters such as cognitive and technical skills, application of knowledge and skills, decision-making ability, skills and entrepreneurial mindset, humanistic and ethical values will be used for evaluating students at each level. GAIL, that is Gas Authority of India Limited, has started India's first project of hydrogen blending in natural gas in Indore. GAIL has started this project as a pilot project which is in line with National Hydrogen Mission. It will test the techno-commercial feasibility of blending hydrogen in the city gas distribution network. This hydrogen blended natural gas will be supplied to Avantika Gas Limited, a joint venture of GAIL and HPCL. Ministry of Culture in collaboration with Amar Chitra Katha has released a book titled India's Women Unsung Heroes recently. This book is a collection of tales of 20 such women freedom fighters who were not given due credit in pages of history. It includes tales of women freedom fighters like Rani Abakka of Ulal, Bengali revolutionary Matangini Hazra, Mother Teresa of Western Odisha Parbati Giri, Gulab Kaur, Sarojini Naidu's daughter Padmaja Naidu, Rani Velu Nachiyar, Jhalkari Bai among others. Ministry of Defence has started home delivery of medicines for retired soldiers and servicemen through an online medical consultation platform called Service E-Health Assistance and Teleconsultation or SEHAT. Defence Minister Shri Rajnath Singh launched the SEHAT initiative on May 27, 2021 as part of the government's commitment to Digital India and e-governance. It is aimed at providing health services to the patients at their homes. Hoysala temples of Belur, Halebid and Somnathpura in Karnataka have been included as Indian nominations for the World Heritage List for the year 2022-23. The sacred monuments of the Hoysala are on the UNESCO Potential List since April 15, 2014 and they are symbol of India's rich historical and cultural heritage. Hoysala architecture is an architectural style developed under the Hoysala Empire between the 11th and 14th centuries, which is mainly centered in the southern Karnataka region. The Hoysala temples fall under the Besara temple construction style.